we don't have to imagine anymore. Elden Ring. So it has an open world with roaming encounters that can be engaged in different environments. Our character can now use stealth, they can jump, and they can fight on horseback. This mount can double jump, it can boost jump, and it can vanish into thin air when you leap off of it. And, you know, as expected, this game has a really great sense of art direction and world building. Elden Ring is coming to current and next-gen consoles and PC on January 21st, 2022. But until then, let's just gush about this trailer and talk about some of the things that it's really easy to miss.
The Tarnished will soon return, guided by grace once lost.
This first part reminds me of Sekiro's opening cinematic, where the maiden approaches us after we suffer a major setback as a character. This new maiden affectionately pats the creature that is or will be our mount. She takes off her ring for some reason, and she just instantly fulfills that ever-present firekeeper role that is so core to all of these games. And you see that enormous tree? The official site calls it the Erd tree, and it quite clearly has its roots in Yggdrasil, the world tree of Norse mythology, and perhaps the world spiral tree of Berserk as well. But we'll talk about that in a lore video to come, so subscribe for that. At any rate, the official website says that at the source of the Erd tree was the Elden Ring, which has been shattered. And now the Tarnished will soon return, guided by grace once lost. So we play as these characters, and you know, just as we were undead, unkindled ash, good hunters in previous games before this, now we are tarnished. So the word tarnished has two meanings. First, it's when something, usually a metal, loses its luster or becomes corroded. So take the Valkyrie, for example. Her arm is literally corroding, it's losing its luster, and even our hair, as a Tarnished, appears to have lost that red luster that she and the giant in the previous trailer retain. The other meaning of tarnish is when something becomes less valuable or less respected, and according to the official site, the Tarnished were spurned by the grace of gold and exiled, so thus they have become less valuable or respected. It's a beautiful word to use for that reason, because both definitions of the word seem to apply to the character. So this brings us to the Golden Order. From the website, it seems that we, as Tarnished, were once a part of it and exiled from it long ago. But now the Elden Ring has been shattered, and
The Golden Order is broken to its core.
Let's talk about our mount, who a lot of people have started affectionately calling Yakul, on account of its similarity to the Red Elk in Princess Mononoke. Great movie. This wouldn't be the first time that Miyazaki, or his designers maybe, were inspired by that movie, and Yakul here is certainly capable of some seriously gravity-defying jumps, just like his movie counterpart. On the Japanese Elden Ring site, it's actually called a spirit horse, which explains its ability to suddenly appear and vanish beneath us. The way it appears and disappears also has interesting implications for the gameplay. Imagine summoning Yakul in combat for a quick burst of speed or just to make a getaway. It makes me wonder when it's beneficial to engage in mounted combat versus just traditional combat. Maybe mounted combat is really good against other mounted enemies, for example. I mean, that's what's happening in this scene, after all. The player character is engaging in a sort of joust with another mounted enemy, holding their sword specifically to one side and then releasing it at just the right moment. Of course, it doesn't look like mounted combat is always going to be this chivalrous. The character in this screenshot, for example, looks just about ready to leap off of his horse onto us, and later on in the trailer, we actually do exactly that. Here, we're attacking this mob of hollows, and this mob and the mounted enemy that we fought earlier, they're all escorts for these two giants and the carriage that they pull via this spike and chain that is plunged through their sort of cavernous chests. What's cool about this encounter is that because this is an open world, wandering mobs like this will absolutely venture through different territories and terrains, meaning that every player might encounter them in different places, with different advantages and disadvantages based on where and when they encounter them. So that's exactly what's happening in this screenshot. According to a press release that hasn't been that widely circulated, Elden Ring will have a natural weather and time of day progression. And here we see the player sneaking in some tall grass, their stealth enhanced perhaps by the cover of rainfall and night. And if the stealth system from Sekiro is truly in place, then I bet you can take out the caravan one by one, rather than taking them head on in the daytime as we saw in the video earlier. I bet the loot is pretty good too. These hollows are literally carrying chests, alongside the massive chest being carried by the giants. So thinking critically about how to use the open world to your advantage sounds like so much fun, and I bet you can do the same thing here with Hal's moving castle. So we all noticed the giant dong beneath the island, but did you also see that there's a building above it? I bet that you can watch and wait for this island to wander into different territory and then maybe jump off a nearby cliff onto the island. Open world games are just at their best with dynamic events and puzzles like this, and it might be too early to say this, but I think From Software are thinking really creatively about this kind of thing, and I'm here for it.
Foul tarnished. In search of the Elden Ring. Emboldened by the flame of ambition. Someone must extinguish thy flame.
The voice acting here is incredible. It's timed perfectly with the swell of the music and the scenery in the trailer, but it's that flame of ambition line that I love the most, because I think it speaks to the slight tonal shift this game has from Dark Souls. Dark Souls is the story of a downtrodden undead trying to sort of hold on to the last vestiges of life, but the Tarnished instead feel like they're fighting for their right to the glory, lordship, and status that they've been denied. That's a significant difference, in my opinion. And this increased sense of character agency translates well to an open world where you have more control over your path, where you choose which castles to conquer or which caves to explore. I'm also just really excited for the gameplay variety that this should introduce, because you'll be going between, exploring a big open world with dynamic encounters to exploring the more tightly designed dungeons with the level design that we know and love from Software. It'll be great to sort of contrast those two things, right? In many of these darker dungeons and caves, the character wields a torch, which gives you light in exchange for a shield or two-handing your weapon. Speaking of weapons though, many seem to come with animations that are pulled straight from Dark Souls 3, to be honest. For example, this is the weapon art of the old wolf curved sword. This is literally the quick step animation you get from holding a dagger or a short axe. This is the rolling attack of the short bow, and there are many similar magic weapon arts as well.
They will fight, and they will die in an unending curse.
Mentioned right after the spirit horse part on the website also mentions spirit bodies, which appears to be summonable help that seem a little bit more unique than the usual phantoms we summon in Souls games. There's even a spirit bird in one of these screenshots that reminds me of Father Owl's summon. It's probably also a good time to mention that this game has multiplayer, probably very similar to what we had in Dark Souls, so don't worry about that. But here is the last scene I want to talk about in this segment. So it's nighttime here, and it's more evidence of a rolling day and night system in the game. But most interesting is that this character is sort of sitting at a small camp. So there is cut content in Dark Souls 3 which showed that From Software was experimenting with the idea of movable bonfires and checkpoints. So what if they finally implemented this idea in Elden Ring? What if you can move your camp around, starting back here if you die? It would make a lot of sense, right, for an open world game like this to have a movable checkpoint system, and I would bet that that's exactly what's going on here.
For how else is a champion or a lord to be born?
So according to Namco's official site, it's our goal to become the Elden Lord. And it's probably no coincidence that this line about lords aligns with our fight against the Valkyrie character, who is clearly a bit more lordly than we are. Later, when I feel more confident, I will talk more deeply about the lore that we know so far, because there is a bit more on the website and in other places, so please subscribe for that. Now, you might have been too distracted by the archdragon plucking lightning bolts from the sky to notice, but Yakul actually performs a double jump here. Shouts out to my Twitch chat for noticing that one. The player also gets a jump of their own, just like in Sekiro, so expect a lot of verticality to be present in these levels, and expect lots of hidden paths to explore.
Well, a lowly tarnished, playing as a lord, I command thee now!
This appears to be the same character from the original trailer who was stitching all these arms to himself. He's been busy these past 2 years apparently. He now has a cascade of limbs, some clutching additional weapons to barrage you with. He even stitches a dragon head onto one arm at some point. This character seems to be really important, and his main weapon has a lion crest on it, which is the same crest that you see on many enemies and banners throughout this trailer. Perhaps he's the main boss of this area, and speaking of which, I assume this area, with the tree and with the plains and the castle, I assume it's all part of just one kingdom, and that there are many other open worlds to explore that we haven't quite seen yet. So there are a lot more tiny secrets in this trailer, but thank you for watching and supporting, and just enjoy watching this channel for the next few weeks as we discuss this game to death. I'll see you soon.